Back in May, I received some older coordinates from an old commercial fisherman who's no longer fishing out there. He gave me some GPS numbers that he said he used to get red snapper, some mangrove, some gags on and whatnot. So we went out and looked at them, and originally the numbers looked kind of barren. There was two that were probably about 300 feet apart from each other, and there wasn't a whole lot there. So I did a little looking around the spot, and eventually it looked like the bottom was getting nice and hard. And when you see that on a depth finder, this will get thicker, your baseline. And then started showing some fish, and then some bait, and some stuff up in the water column as well. This was probably about 400 feet from the numbers that he gave me. His numbers were probably 20 years old, different machine, and sometimes you need to verify or just look around because they still might be good spots. You just got to kind of find them. And so when we started seeing this, I looked behind the boat, and there was a school of Almaco jacks. And typically Almaco jacks offshore are going to be hanging around your bigger structure, your wrecks, your reefs, and all that type of stuff. So I was like, all right, well, this definitely shows some promise. So we started fishing, and we got some red snapper and whatnot out in that 125, 130 foot range. Red snapper are very prevalent right now. And so I wanted to send the camera down because I was just kind of curious what the spot was. So here is the camera going down. Actually, you can see something right there. When the Almaco jacks were up on the surface, I tried to get a video of them. I lost the footage. I don't know where it went, but it was kind of crazy because I've never seen that many of them. Like normally you'll see a dozen here, a dozen there. This was probably like 100 or 200 of them. So as the camera's going down, good sign, school of bait, and a lot of it. And then with the school of bait, which you'll typically see on some of these good spots offshore, mangrove snapper way up in the water column. I mean, this is probably only 30, 40 feet below the boat at this point. So mangrove snapper, bait, and that's when jig heads and whatnot are really good because they slowly go down. So you can see the spot as the camera's going down, kind of off in the distance. Doesn't look like a whole lot, just kind of sandy. So lots of sandy bottom as it's descending. But then as it comes back around, okay, and a little darker, a little harder. So over here, hard bottom, and you see this big old fish right here. If you can make it out, it's a goliath grouper. Goliaths aren't going to sit on smaller structures, so that's a good sign that you've got something, ledge, wreck, something like that, artificial reef maybe, that's holding the goliath there. So there's the goliath, pretty big one. You start to see some of these red snapper. There's some grouper, some more snapper, whatnot in the background. So red grouper, another, I think that's a red grouper there. A lot of coloration when they're sitting on the bottom like that. Mangrove snapper. Just a whole variety of fish on this spot. And then I didn't see this until later. Something a little more serious structure-wise right there. When I was driving around, I saw a real thick red line. So you can see how this is kind of thick right here. That's kind of where I ended up anchoring the boat with the Rodan. Is I wanted to get on that thicker piece of structure. So when you see these red lines, get longer, that means even harder bottom. And so that's where I kind of wanted to get the boat, and that's where we sat. So camera goes down, red snapper, these scamps, mangroves. There's a goliath back there. Red snapper kind of curious. I hear the camera come down. They're like, "What is going on over there?" So they come from some of the harder bottom around. So you can see there's something right there, a little artificial looking. But lots of fish kind of coming into the camera. There's lionfish. If you can see lionfish right there. Lots of life. Some bigger red snapper hanging out in the back a little bit. And so this spot, I'd say we found it, but it was pretty close to where he was giving me. So we just kind of had to search for it, and it definitely holds some fish. This was back in May when the water was real clean, so the visibility was good. So you can see lots of life. So angelfish, big mangrove snapper, just kind of all structured with some yellowtail snapper. Just whole lots of good stuff. Nothing, that you don't really want to see. A lot of times some of these hard bottom spots have too many vermilion snapper, beeliners, and you have a hard time getting baits through to get some of these other fish. Lots of lionfish. Boom, 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 boom. Lionfish all around this hard bottom. So as the camera, I didn't have it down for long. It was just kind of spot checking. It was only down on the bottom for maybe 3 minutes or so. So as the camera comes back around, I kind of figured out what this was. It took a while for me looking at the footage, on the computer, on the phone when I'm looking at it out offshore. It's not exactly easy to see because you're looking on a much smaller screen. But when I'm looking on the computer later, I was able to determine that this hard bottom that I dropped the camera right on is a little wreck. So somebody was dropping a bait over here, so you can see kind of the fish get concentrated. They're all kind of looking at it, and then as the bait goes up, the fish kind of go up with it. Pretty cool. But this little structure here that this red grouper's sitting in, and it's a little wreck of some type. I don't know if it's an old boat, if it's an old fridge, or something not too big, maybe 10, 12 feet long by the looks of it. It's definitely hollowed out, but in the middle of all this hard bottom, that little extra bit was able to hold that, goliath grouper and some of these other mangrove snapper, yellowtail snapper. So the camera starts going up. I'll try to go slow here. So right there, it's I believe it's just an old boat. I don't really know how big it is. It's hard to tell. I didn't get a great look at it, but you can see the hollowed out parts all around this hard bottom, just so something a little extra that fish can sit in. We were able to fish right on top of it this day, and then when we went back in June during red snapper season, we go back a week later, or 2 weeks later I should say, and it was rough, and so the Rodan wasn't holding, so we had to anchor, and we ended up anchoring pretty far off of the spot. But the fishing was awesome. I was using a lot of half-ounce hogballs, dropping down cut thread fins. That was pretty much the main thing fish wanted that day. And I'll show some footage of it. But we had the mangrove snapper. We got a couple on a flat line. Got a bunch of them dropping down to the bottom. And then also a nice gag grouper that came, off this hard bottom spot. So it just goes to show, if you get old numbers from somebody, or if you get some of the publicly known numbers, search around. Don't just go to that zero out and start fishing, because sometimes the best spots are ones that you find just off of old stuff. I do a lot of exploring. I don't necessarily just go out and drop anchor on a zero out at all. I'll look for fish around these hard bottom spots on a given day, because they can move around. Fish move around quite a bit. So yeah, definitely do some exploring, and I'll leave you with some fishing footage of what we got off this spot. Yeah, just on the, that was probably 60 feet, 80 feet down maybe. You want to copy me? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Oh, okay. Maybe grab that fillet so we can cut up some more threads.
Another cut thread on that one?
Yeah, just on hitting them on the drop. Hopefully. Oh, get out of the boat. It is a big mango. Nice one.
Nice. That's a stud. That's probably the biggest one yet.
Hell yeah.
Who's getting in on the jig head action with the hogball?
I'm about to do the same. I got the same one on my spinning stuff.
What's better than your line just going? I'm hoping it's another mang. It is another mang. All right, bought us a couple more minutes.
There you go. Is it mango? Yeah, I'm getting hit every drop. It's just they're like, just kind of whacking it, and not really inhaling it.
You just keeping it real slow.
Yeah. I'm just trying to go tight so I don't like rip the bait off when I feel a bite. Add them to my stack. I'm happy catching those things.
Whoa! Got another shark.
No, don't say that.
Atlantic brown trout.
Salmon. This might be your gag you want to kill.
I had it.
Get them out.
Big ass red snapper.
I'm
What's
not
that?
sure if you're making ground on them or not.
Where's that net?
Up front, grab some.
Y'all need to go to the Hogball, baby.
I'm on the Hogball.
The smaller one is big.
Yeah, a little half on that. So you got a half ounce on?
Yeah.
Will you hand me that gator one right there? I'll get it. Don't worry about it.
Oh, big red grouper? What is that? Gag.
It's a gag.
Hi, Kyle. My freaking 15 pound gag.
Come this way. It's all right.
All through my business. You got that? Got him.
Oh, you got that. I was about to say, I was like, we're getting that thing in the boat.
What is it? Big gag?
Big gag. So I should rename it. No throwbacks. I'm about to catch a more one. I do this.
John, you want to grab that?
Big mango.
Net?
Orban, you got the net up there? Oh, it's red snapper. All right, that's cool.
Hey, that'll work.
No, yeah, that works.
Keeper.
He is a keeper.
That will do. Big.
8.
That'll do.
Nice.
What's that?
He's more of a man than that. So just kind of,
Fighting belt?
when you start getting down into where the fish are, just take your hand and feed the line out. And then eventually when you get hit, that line's gonna come flying off. So you just gotta close the bail. It'll hook itself.
How far are the fish? All the way to the bottom or no?
You'll start to get a feel for it.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, if it's going out on its own, there you go, Kyle. If it's going out on its own, just kind of feel the line,
Number 9?
because there's a little bit of current.
Number 9.
Red snapper?
Yep.
Hell
Number
yeah.
9.
And then Kyle's maybe got a red snapper.
I almost mango.
Yeah, I mean, either way, that's good. Still haven't thrown a single fish back here. Yeah, so let it keep going.
About to switch up my tactics. This guy seems to get in touch.
It's a good spot here.
One more drop.
16? Maybe, it might be 16.
Push.